Welcome to Crossing Cultures, the podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Okay, right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Crossing Cultures, the podcast that is based here in Qatar. So, as you know, there's lots going on in the world right now. And I just flew back from London after visiting back home for the Eid break. And March has been a month for all of us here in the region. As you all know, there was a war going on at the moment, and it started on the 28th of February. And I blogged my journey, which was posted recently. And now I'm really interested in about what happens next in terms of the well-being support, the mental health side of it. And today I have my amazing friend with me. I have Selena Grant with me all the way from UK, and she's a well-being consultant with over 25 years experience within the field. And she provides great services to schools in mainly London region, I believe.
Yeah.
London region, and also as well, you're providing amazing services for your Fountain Church in Kent. And you
Absolutely.
recently had an event on Saturday, and I saw some clips of it, and it looked fabulous. So Selena's going to speak to us about some of the things that we can do, some of the things that we can be aware of during this time around our mental health and well-being. So Selena, I don't know if you want to mention anything else about yourself that I completely missed out, but welcome.
No,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you so much, Keith. It's really lovely. It's an honor to be here actually doing this with you today. No, I think you've gave me a great introduction. Nothing more to add. Let's just see how the conversation flows.
Yeah. And just to big you up, you own your own company. So you provide counselors into local schools.
I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. Do you know what? It's funny because I didn't plan necessarily to do that in the way that I am, but there was a demand, there was a need, there was a demand. So, hey, who am I to say no on in that aspect? So yeah, I do provide services into schools. So I have a little team, and we're in and around the London area. And yeah, we provide support to the students, but also the teachers and leadership team. I do the leadership teams. So it's we provide services for counselling, one-to-one help with mental health support, signposting, setting up their system. So yeah, anything under the umbrella of mental health, their training, supervision, all sorts, we provide for them. So yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay. So my first question
Yeah.
is around everything that's happening now.
Hmm.
Many people are living in uncertainty,
Yeah.
including myself.
Yeah.
How would you describe what people might be feeling emotionally in this what next phase?
Mm. I think, first of all, very good question to start with. I think, it's really unfortunate what's happening at the moment. And I think people are going to be feeling so many different things. Key things are fear, just uncertainty of not knowing what's going to happen next. People may be feeling complete emotional exhaustion as well from it all. It's been an extended period of time, um, where you've been in the situation that you are in now. So people may be very worried, very concerned. There may be numbing as well, sense of numbness within individuals, from all that's gone on. So loads of things people are going to be feeling, tearfulness, just lowness, sadness, so much worry. The main thing is worry and anxiety that
Yeah.
people will be feeling.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I appreciate you saying that as well, because, when I look on social media, I see people in Dubai, all these
Yeah.
influencers posting that it's fine. We're not really in the heart of the war. And I'm like, it's not
Mhm.
really about that. It's about the mental exhaustion of not being able to sleep because the alert's going off. And, they always say that the first attack on war is your mind, you know,
Yes.
because if your
Yeah.
mind's right, then you don't respond in the right way if there's an
Yeah.
emergency. So
Yeah.
I don't like undermine or underplay any emotion that anyone's feeling. Everybody's at
Mhm.
stages and
Yeah.
deal with different. I remember the last time in June, I was telling people that when we had the interception in June, we were not prepared for it as a country.
Yeah.
Um, I completely freaked out. And I'm
Mm.
thinking to myself, what? I'm this girl from Broccoli. I'm this, I'm a ghetto chick. I know how to handle stuff like this. And the minute I saw these drones flying across my
Yeah.
head, I was on the
Yeah.
floor like, oh, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What's going? I was like literally having a panic attack, which I've never had before in my life.
Mhm.
So it was the first experience for me, like, oh my goodness, like you're having a panic attack. This is
Mhm.
serious. And
Yeah.
it's simply because I didn't know what to expect,
Mhm.
you know? So now that I've been through that, the first one, like
Yeah.
I feel like I dealt with this one slightly different.
Yeah.
But it was definitely sleep being impacted 100%.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have one of the biggest US bases here in Qatar. So we're
Yeah.
around Americans all the time, around military people. And, there's a big stigma around PTSD. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do kind of feel like we've had a smidget feeling of what it might feel like to have PTSD, even
Mm.
though we haven't seen anything at a scale of
Yeah.
what somebody in the military would experience.
Yeah.
But for someone hearing PTSD for the first time, and
Mm.
a lot right now, how would you explain it in a simple, relatable way?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's about understanding the definition. So, PTSD is post traumatic stress disorder, which was previously known as shell shock, which came from, the military who'd experienced and witnessed various, traumatic events. I suppose the simplest way that I would really describe what that is by giving you or using the analogy of a house. So a house that has an alarm system on it, okay? If someone's trying to break in or burgle a house, the alarm system will go off to alert the owner there's something wrong, something needs attending to. When you have PTSD, it's like that alarm is constantly going off. There's a malfunction. You can't switch it on, you can't switch it off. It's just constantly alarming. Alarm bells are ringing. That's post-traumatic stress disorder. It's when you are experiencing having an emotional response, reactive response to a significant event, and you can't move forward, you can't go back, you're stuck. You're in a frozen state. Post-traumatic stress disorder, there's a malfunction in the system that should be there to alert you to danger.
Right. So basically, it's telling you that your body's working.
Yeah.
Your body's kind of doing the right thing.
Well, your body's working, your body's doing the right thing, but it's not working in the way it should be, in the sense of, when you have your alarm in your house shouldn't constantly be going off this if there's no danger.
Okay.
Do you
Okay.
understand?
Yeah.
Right? If your car's being broken into, an alarm should go off. Your alarm shouldn't be constantly going off 24 hours of the day. But when you
Mhm.
have post-traumatic stress disorder, there's like an internal alarm going off 24 hours of the day. And that's where you then experience all these different symptoms, which I'm sure we'll come on to, with the fatigue and the tiredness and the worry and the reliving, because it's constant, whether
Right.
there's a danger there or not there. Is that making sense?
It does. Yeah. Because now for me, hearing you say that, it's making me kind of self-assess what level I think I'm at. It's
Mm,
where am I at with that? Because I don't
yeah,
want to throw words out and say, oh, I've got PTSD, but I don't actually understand what that means.
no.
Uh, so, what are some of the signs that in the early signs of trauma, of PTSD, for people that might overlook it or dismiss it?
Yeah. So first, let me just say, when I've given you this analogy of this alarm system going off, okay, that is known as you have an acute stress response. Okay. So imagine if you're in a house and someone tries to break in and the actual alarm in the house is going off, what you're gonna do, you're gonna jump up, you might make a phone call, you might try to fend off the intruder. You're gonna have different responses. Okay. With post-traumatic stress disorder, you can have some initial what we call acute stress response, which is normal. Okay. So that might look like avoidance behaviors, it might look like mood changes, it might look like physical symptoms that are felt and expressed in the body. That's kind of normal. That's kind of a normal response to an abnormal situation. If bombs are dropping, if you witness something else that's horrific, you're going to react and respond to that. That's normal. When it becomes PTSD is when that acute stress response is lingering. It's going over a particular time frame. Okay. It's impacting your everyday living, your everyday activities, getting up, getting washed, getting dressed, going to work, going to school. That's when it merges into PTSD, where you need to acknowledge it.
Mm, okay. All right. I understand that.
Yeah.
So, okay, I get that. So, would you say that sleep is also one of those early signs that?
Sleep can definitely be. There are some key symptoms of PTSD. The key thing really is around flashbacks. A lot of people with PTSD have flashbacks. They experience the reliving. It's when you go to sleep and you're imagining or witnessing imagining the images of what has previously happened. It's the having the rumination, the thoughts, the what ifs and the what ifs and the what ifs, what could have happened, what should have happened, what didn't happen. It's going through those kind of things. It's having sleep disturbances. When you have when your eyes are flicking, rapid eye movement, REM sleep, that's normally where your emotion, you got your it's your emotional sleep, okay, if you like. But actually when you're having that, where you should be having REM sleep, you're probably there worrying, anticipating, is never alert going to go off, therefore you're not sleeping because your body's in a hyper arousal state, waiting for an alert, waiting to hear some kind of noise to let you know there's a danger response. So sleep is big, reliving
Yeah.
is big. Yeah, stress is big, mood change is big,
Mhm.
hypervigilance big. The list can go on, but these are some of the core symptoms, if you like, that people will experience or you might have recognized in somebody else.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Because I do know when I came back home, I felt like I was having my worst
Yeah,
sleep when I got home, which is weird because I was like, when I get home, I'm going to be able to sleep really well because I'm away from everything. And I was getting probably an average of 4 hours a night. And I was like,
right.
what's going on with me? I just couldn't sleep. I was constantly checking my phone, checking the WhatsApp messages from the groups of people that were still back in Qatar because I had a sense
Yeah,
of kind of like a guilt that I was here and they were over there. So I kind of felt
yeah,
like I needed to feel like I was still there with them, but
yeah,
it was impacting me having just a decent night's sleep.
yeah,
So yeah, and that's when I was like, okay, you need to start getting some herbal tablets or drinking
yeah,
cannabis tea, switching off the phone and not interacting with stuff on social media about what's going on in region and
yeah,
just switch off. It took a
yeah,
long time to actually just detach from it
yeah,
because I knew I was going back to it. So I thought I don't
yeah,
want to get too far away from feeling like it's normal, and then I know that I
yes.
have to go back in a couple of weeks. So
Mm.
all of that was going on. So in terms of like when should people seek support even if they haven't experienced something directly but still feel affected by what's happened?
I think people should seek support if they're experiencing any of the things that I'm mentioning with regards to the symptoms, the sleep, the worry, becoming hypervigilant. So being really quite jumpy at the sound of noises, or even getting quite distressed when people are talking about what's happened. That's an opportunity to seek some support, really. One thing that we don't talk about enough, I think, in the community is vicarious trauma. So for example, you know, you're in Qatar, you're where you are, you're my friend, you've experienced what you've experienced. I haven't experienced it firsthand because I haven't been there with you to witness what you have. But, as an individual, me hearing stories, me watching the news, okay, could be enough to trigger me, could be enough to trigger my senses to give me secondary trauma. So I might have not witnessed, I might have not been there for the significant event, but I am now experiencing a secondary traumatic response, which we call vicarious trauma. So
No.
you don't have to necessarily have been in the incident to be impacted by it. So if you are secondary to that information and it's impacting your daily living, the minute something you are hearing or seeing or witnessing is it affecting you day to day, you're eating, you're sleeping, you're just living, then actually go and seek some support. Find
Mm.
an appropriate organization or somebody, a professional, friend, family, to get some support from.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I'm quite lucky actually because my company that I work for, they actually have a counseling service for just our staff, and
Okay.
it's an independent organization, so it's not part of the company. It's a service that they,
Mm.
and we can go through, I mean, that service has been there for ages, not just for this situation, it's been there. So I've always considered going for counseling sessions. So I'm now thinking, should I just go through my company and just have a few sessions just to see how I respond to it. So yeah, it's a healthy thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, look, why not? If the support is there for you, why not take that? I mean, because you have to remember, we have I don't know whether you're going to approach this particular topic, but I'm going to touch on it now anyway, because, we have a central nervous system. It's automated. It's supposed to tell us if we're in danger or if we're safe. And the problem is when you are experiencing an incident, an event, or whether, somebody like myself, secondary to it, what that can happen is it can trigger all these hormonal responses in the body. The adrenaline can kick in. You in Qatar, me here in the UK, adrenaline can kick in. We're getting ready for an alert. We're getting ready for, we need to pack and we need to run. Cortisol hormone is kicking in, kicking in, kicking in, kicking in, which should be, it's a stress hormone. All right. And when those things are overloaded, it means we get blocked in this freeze phase. And that's where then our sleep's affected. All these symptoms we've mentioned, that's when those things really kick in. And that's why I'm mentioning it, because if you are experiencing this thing, it's a sign. It's a sign to get up and get help, because actually the brain is not functioning, or it's not functioning in the way it normally does. It wants to function by telling you you're safe, but actually, because of all what's going on internally in your body, it's like bouncing up and down, up and down. That's why people become unsettled. That's where emotional instability comes in, because your hormone regulation, that central nervous system, which should be automated, is not firing the way it should be.
What is the impact on us if we, or our brain development or whatever it could be,
Yeah.
if we don't seek the help? Because I know there's an impact in young people. Like if they don't seek the help by a certain age, it follows them into their young adulthood.
Well, I think that's the case for anybody, really. If you have experience a significant event and you're having traumatic responses, you can maybe, as an adult now, let's think about the adults, you may be able to mask that for quite some time, but it will eventually come out in one way or the other, whether that's through anger, whether that's through frustration, whether that's through lower tolerance, and that it might look like something else, but actually it's through maybe those talking therapies that you might be able to get to the bottom of the root as to what the actual cause is. And you might know what it is anyway, like, for example, the war that's been going on. And I think children, again, if they don't get support for these traumatic responses from now, again, it will come out in other ways. They might become more likely to get a diagnosable condition such as anxiety, such as the PTSD, such as depression, or other things like that. So it will come out, it will show
Yeah.
itself.
So that kind of goes really nicely into the next question. From a school's perspective, how can educators create safe spaces for students who may be silently struggling?
Yeah. Acknowledge there's a need to get
Mhm.
support, and why there is a need to get support. Get professionals in. There are people out there that are able to come in and help and support students as well as the staff, but it's given a safe space. Get your counselors in, get your therapists in, get your mental health professionals in, allow the students to know they can be excused, they can go and see somebody should they need support. Do training. Speak to parents, speak to teachers. Schools can do so much to help students and staff and prevent any of these symptoms becoming worse, becoming magnified.
Yeah, we only have one school council in our school, and that's
Wow.
council across primary and secondary. Now,
Wow.
my concern is for other schools that only have one councillor, is how can that councillor give their all when they also are impacted by the events that's happened? And I know that some schools they do provide supervision, but not all
Yep.
schools get that for their school
Mm.
councillors. So my concern is now, especially for my kids, it's like, okay, how can we rely heavily on this one counsellor when this counsellor may also need support because of the traumatic experience that they have been through? And then how do we give the best to our kids if we only rely on such limited resources? It's not like the UK where you've
Yeah.
got AMS and you've got all these massive organizations
Yep.
and loads of funding. It's really different here. Really different. I think one of
Mm.
the ladies I interviewed a couple of years ago, I think she's saying she's got 250 students.
Oh gosh.
Wow.
Wow.
So I think counselling service here only started about 3 years ago. I could be wrong, but I know
Wow.
it wasn't a thing when I first came here. Now,
Mm.
because like young people, life is changing. There's different contributors to mental
Yeah.
health now. There's
Yeah.
more acknowledgement to it over here. So
Yeah.
that stigma has completely been taken away.
Yeah.
and they are building better systems to support,
Mm.
mental health here. They are.
Yeah.
So it is
Yeah.
improving, but we have one counselor in our school. And also, can I add to that as well?
Yeah.
How impactful are online services?
Mm.
So we have a program that we brought into,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like staff lead it, but kids can self-refer onto it. But
Okay.
how impactful is having like an online service?
Mm. Well, let me go to the first part of your question. You said how can that one member of staff basically how can they cope? How can they manage? I don't think they can.
Mm, okay.
I don't think they can. Um, they will do the best they can. Of course, they're professionals. But one of the reasons why I provide a service to the people, to counselors, to leaders, across local authorities and in schools, is because often those at the top, sometimes they don't attend to their own emotional concerns and needs because of a plethora of different reasons, which we won't go into right now. So I think if you've got one person, one counsellor across these two primary schools, 250 students, whilst they're living in the middle of all what's going on, they're going to need support. They are going to need support in their own right. They are going to need to access their own clinical support, their own clinical supervision. They are going to need to really, should really have a peer group, someone that they can be debriefing with. You know, there are going to need to be supports for them to help them manage their work, for them to offload all that they are doing, because 250 students, that's a lot of
mm,
emotional baggage that
yeah.
individual counselor's taking on. What then are they doing with it? Where
Mm,
is that going? So they need to have support. You can't do counseling work. No counselor should be doing counseling without their own clinical, counseling support for themselves. But there should be a level of senior support, clinical support for them to manage what they're doing.
what
So
is the maximum would you say that a counsellor should have in terms of capacity?
not 250. I mean, not 200, but they should. 250, in my opinion, professional opinion, is way too much. But then a lot of factors come into play. Frequency, okay, age range, frequency, level of concern, presenting concerns. You know, if you've got 250 people that have got moderate to high concerns, that's it's just way too much. If there was 250 students with low concerns, that's still too much, even though the concerns might be minimal. All right. So it depends. If you've got someone full time, so how do we do it here? For example, if I've got a member of staff who's full time, 5 days that they're in school, from 8 to 3, they might see, I don't know, 6 students, 7 students a day. Okay, times that by 5. Okay, so really, 7 40, I would say 60 is enough. 60 is a lot, but 60 is enough.
Wow.
And that's based on the basis of 60 being seen maybe some weekly, some fortnightly. So when you're going into 250s, I mean, I don't know. I'd love to speak to them on a one-to-one to say, how are they doing that? How are they actually managing? How is their mental health? How is their well-being? Because on top of those 250 students, they've got their own life going on around them externally to school. How are they coping and managing with
Yeah.
that? I don't know. I don't, I don't, I don't know. I don't think you can do the best job having had, I mean, I'd be happy to be challenged on that, but I would be really keen to speak to that person with 250 students, especially if they're seeing them every week. How is that possible?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. For parents who may not have the language or tools, what are
Mm.
simple ways they can support their children through uncertainty and fear?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things parents can do. And I think the most obvious one, but the most simplest one really is physical touch. You know, a hug from someone that a loving hug from someone that, you know, genuinely loves and cares for you and about you is the best thing that a parent can do for their child. Why? Because when you hug somebody, it releases that hormone oxytocin. And if you think about the hypervigilance that we were speaking about before, you know, it's the stress hormone, it goes off the scale. So when you hug somebody, that release of oxytocin as a hormone, the love hormone, it counteracts the cortisol. So the cortisol, the stress hormone is increasing during post-traumatic distress, and the hug that brings oxytocin hormone to lower that stress hormone. So the first simplest thing to do is touch, hug, okay? Reassure as best as you can, communicate, you know, validate your child's feelings. You know what's happening, you know, but validate their feelings. When you validate their feelings, it's not saying the feelings are wrong or right or indifferent, but you're acknowledging how the child is feeling. And that helps the child then not feel alone. Another one is grounding. You know, grounding is a very simple thing to do. You know, you don't have to be a therapist. You know, you just need to know five, four, three, two, one. Think about five things you can see, five things, four things you can touch, three things you can hear, two things you can smell, and for them to say one positive thing about themselves. It just helps ground. If you think about PTSD, your five senses are triggered. That they're going up, 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 up. When you ground in this kind of way, it just helps automatically try to reduce your stress level to bring you back down to a bit of a calm state. Set boundaries. Social media, the news, on the TV, on the phones, over the internet, reduce that stuff. We know what's happening. Okay, fine. But we don't need to immerse ourselves in it because that can be very triggering and contribute to the sleepless nights, the hypervigilance, the overthinking, the panic, the anxiousness. So set boundaries. And for people that have got faith, turn to God.
Mm,
So I think if you're a parent and you know you don't have much knowledge of PTSD or how these things are very simple. Hug, communicate, set boundaries, you know,
yeah.
do some grounding, and
Mm,
turn to your faith.
I like that. Thank you. I like that. Is there one message that you would want people to hold on to during this time? What would it be?
Yeah. I think a key message I would say is talk to somebody, you know, talk to somebody. You're not alone. You are not going to be the only person that is trying to hold it together or just about holding it together or having intermittent moments where you're just panicked or wake up in the middle of the night in an outbreak of sweat. You're not going to be the only one going through the symptoms that you might be experiencing. So talk to someone, find a friend, find a relative. If you don't have a friend, if you don't have a relative, find a professional. Find someone that you can speak to that can help you navigate through this particular season and what you are feeling and experiencing.
All right, brilliant. Thank you so much. I learned so much from you. Just, we speak all the time, but we don't speak about
Mm.
some of the more deeper things around mental health. And
Mm.
I think it's been a great opportunity to just get the basic information that people can take away without it being too heavy.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I will leave your details as well so people can get in contact with you because I think someone like you, we're missing this level of support.
Mm.
This is why I kind of feel like, with technology, we can still get that information out to people without,
Yeah.
the thing that you've been in the region.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be great if schools were to contact you and just say, look, can you do a session, a whole school session on well-being and mental health? That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Right.
hopefully we can get that going.
Can I just say one thing? I think one thing I didn't respond to just come back to me was about the online support. Is there a place for it? And I think the answer is yes and no, basically, depending on what's presenting. But I think, you know, any support is better than no support.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay,
Support is better than no
appreciate
support. So
it.
yeah, there's definitely a space, there's definitely a remit for online support, whether that's for PTSD or other
Yeah.
presentations that affect your mental health and well-being.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, we have come to the end. I really appreciate your time and crucial information that I definitely will hold on to and
Yeah.
share, So I'm hoping that those that listen will really gain something from what you've,
Mm.
spoken about and advised us on. And I just hope that, you know, I might have to come back to you again and,
Yeah.
for more support because we might go to, we just don't know what's going to happen. And that's why I said is what is next,
Yeah.
after we've experienced,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that there won't be more things that are going to happen. And I'm just praying that we've
Mm.
seen the worst of it so far.
Yeah.
Um, so that's all we can do is pray, wait
Exactly.
and pray. Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. This is Crossing Cultures. I think this is the first time we've done the episode under Crossing Cultures. Last time we did it under Teen Summit.
That's
But
right.
yeah, but it's been really it's been an honor to have you as the guest and such a crucial topic to discuss.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's see what happens. I'm
Thanks so
praying.
much, Keith, for inviting me. Yeah,
You're
you'll be
very
fine. God's got
welcome.
you. God's got
Thank
you.
you.
All right.
Crossing cultures, crossing cultures, crossing paths, making changes and new arranges. Crossing cultures, crossing paths.